All right, fellow viewers, good afternoon, good morning, good evening from where you are following us from through Benjamin Academy. We are again live in another episode of our video in history. Today we are going to be discussing on the First World War. The First World War, which started in 1914 and ended in 1918. The war was a global confrontation that started in the Balkan Peninsula in Europe, but because of the alliances, it was later expanded all over the world and fought for a good period of 4 years. The war was fought because the European countries, the great powers in Europe, came to divide themselves into two different camps. And these camps, because of a minor issue that started in the Balkan Peninsula between Austria and Serbia, the alliances were drawn into a minor issue. The First World War started, or the immediate cause of the First World War was the assassination of Archduke Francis Ferdinand. Archduke Francis Ferdinand and wife Sophia Chote were assassinated in the Bosnian capital of Sarajevo on the 28th of June 1914. This Crown Prince of Austria and the wife, they went to visit Serbia, or a Bosnia and Herzegovina, which was under their control, because we have discovered that by 1908, Austria has annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina. And when they annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina in the Balkan, Austria was implementing its culture or a policy of pan-Germanism. They were implementing the German culture or language to the people of Serbia, whom they had their own culture, which was called Pan-Slavism. So the Slavs in the Balkan, which were under Bosnia and Herzegovina, they were not happy to see Austria take over their territory, and because of that, they started developing anti-Austrian organization or societies to fight against the annexation of their territory. These Austrians were not happy with the fact that Serbia wanted to form a pan-Slavic state in the Balkan. Serbia had the intention to form a pan-Slavic state where she wanted to group all the Slavs in the Balkan, which were Bosnia and Herzegovina. There was Serbia, there was Albania. All right. So, as Serbia wanted to form a pan-Slavic state, but the obstacle she had in the Balkan was the fact that Austria came and annexed some of the states that Serbia wanted to take and include in her big Slav state, which were Bosnia and Herzegovina. So the annexation of Bosnia and Herzegovina by Austria was hated by the Slavs in the Balkan, and because of this, the Slavs started growing anti-Austrian sentiment, which led to the formation of society known as the Black Hand, or the Union of Dead. Black Hand or Union of Dead. The Union of Dead, it was formed, and through it, a Slav or a Serbian student called Gavrilo Princip killed the Crown Prince of Austria and wife Sophia Chote on the 28th of June 1914 when they went to visit the capital Sarajevo. With this assassination, Austria was not happy with the killing of their Crown Prince and the wife. So, Austria on the 25th of July 1914, Austria gave a 3-point ultimatum to Serbia to be executed within 48 hours. What were these points that Austria gave to Serbia? The first condition was that 1, Austria asked Serbia to investigate all those that were involved in the killing of their crown prince and the wife. The second condition that Austria gave to Serbia was that the Serbians, or all the administrators in Serbia that hated Austria, they should be dismissed. And the third condition was that Austria was to send its soldiers into Serbia to go and investigate. If the first two conditions were implemented, Austria gave that third condition, but Serbia was not happy. Serbia rejected the third option because she knew that if Austria sent its police into its territory, it was going to tamper with its independence, since they have already annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina. So Serbia asked that the issue should be taken into the Hague, or the Tribunal, the International Court of Justice, for arbitration. But since Austria was having the support or the backing of Germany, Austria refused, and she has to wage a war against Serbia on the 28th of July. On the 28th of July, 1914. I said the reason why Austria refused that they should take the issue to court was because Germany has given Austria what we call a blank check, a unconditional support to wage a war against Serbia, where Germany was going to support Austria. Don't forget, Germany and Austria, they have been together in a union called Anschluss. So it was this Anschluss union that enabled Germany to give support to Austria, and the Germans and the Austrians have a common language. So Germany gave unconditional support to Austria. Now, when Austria went and declared war against Serbia on the 28th of July, 1914, Russia, which has supported the Slavs in the Balkan, started mobilizing her troops in order to give support to Serbia. When Russia started mobilizing its military, Germany asked Russia to stay quiet or neutral, but Russia refused to stay neutral, and because of that, Germany had to declare war on Russia on the 1st of August. On the 1st of August, 1914, Germany declared war against Russia. When Germany declared war against Russia, France started mobilizing to support Russia. The reason why France was mobilizing was because at the time there was the formation of alliances in Europe, and these alliances make it clear that an attack of a member of a particular alliance means an attack on all. So France, Britain and Russia, they were already member of an alliance which was called the Triple Entente. So the reason why France was mobilizing to support Russia after German attack on Russia on the 1st of August 1914 was because France and Russia were member of the same alliance. Now, on the 3rd of August, since France could not stay neutral, Germany has to declare war on the 3rd of August 1914 against France. On this day, Germany declared war against France. Now, Britain could not stay neutral. Since Britain, France, and Russia, they were members of an alliance, and to attack France, Germany has to pass through Belgium in order to attack France. Passing through Belgium so as to attack France was a violation of Belgian neutrality. In 1839 in Europe, in Belgium signed what was called Belgian neutrality in London, where she agreed to stay off European affairs, that she was not to be involved in any politics or international affairs in Europe. Britain was the guarantor of Belgian neutrality. So when Germany was about to attack France, Kaiser William II described the Belgian neutrality that was signed in 1839 as a scrap of paper, and so he moved ahead and passed through Belgium and attacked France. Since Britain was the one protecting Belgium in Europe, Britain could not stay mute, and so Britain on the 1st of August 1914, the war started and was expanded to other parts of the world. That was the immediate cause of the outbreak of the First World War, the assassination of Archduke Francis Ferdinand and wife Sophia Chote that I have explained. Now, for the student writing advanced level history, you should be able to know how the crisis in the Balkan, because at one moment they can frame a question: to what extent did the Balkan crisis contributed to the outbreak of the First World War, or explain the extent to which nationalism, the growth of nationalism in the Balkan led to the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. Now, in this question, as an advanced level student, this is how you are going to attack the question. The growth of nationalism, it means the nations or the different races in the Europe, they wanted to form large states. It was the desire of the Slavs in Europe, the Slavs in the Balkan, to form a pan-Slavic state, that enabled Serbia, which was the biggest of the Slavs, to have the desire to gather all the Slavs, which were Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, Albania, to form a pan-Slavic state. Because of her desire, she wanted to grow her nationalism. And when the issue came up between Austria and Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia got herself involved into it because her plan was to form a pan-Slavic state in the Balkan. The second reason for the outbreak of the First World War we'll be looking at is arms race and militarism. Arms race and militarism. When we talk about arms race, we are referring to the building of military equipment, the building of weapons in Europe by the European nations. Before 1914, European nations have embarked in the construction of sophisticated weapons like drones, cruisers, missiles, dreadnoughts, which helps them to easily go into a war. Aside this military equipment that the European nations were building, so many of these nations recruited soldiers, increased the size of their military, and lengthened the period of training of this military. For example, smaller countries like Serbia and Romania had 400,000 soldiers in the Balkan. As if that was not enough, in the area of arms race and militarism, it was more intense between Britain and Germany. Britain was the country in Europe that have dominated in terms of water bodies or fighting in the sea, which we call naval supremacy. Britain had a naval supremacy in Europe before the outbreak of the war. But Kaiser William II came to power and wanted to compete or rival with Britain in terms of naval equipment. And by so doing, the Germans now venture into competition with Britain. This annoyed the British because of that. And when Britain got annoyed, they have to go in and produce a new military equipment in 1906. Since Germany had passed a law in the German parliament, which was to double the size of the German military fleet and their equipment, Britain felt that her position as a naval power in Europe was threatened. And for that reason, in 1906, Britain went ahead and produced a new naval equipment called the Dreadnought. The Dreadnought was produced by Britain. Britain produced 9. When Britain produced 9, Germany was not happy. Between 1909 to 1911, Germany went ahead and produced 18 Dreadnought. When they produced 18 Dreadnought, Britain produced 86. So they keep on doubling the number of Dreadnought that were being produced between Britain and Germany to show their military strength, to show it's dominating in Europe in terms of naval fighting or naval supremacy. And because of this, they could easily venture into the crisis in the Balkans, since Britain and Germany were of the different alliances. So with this military rivalry in Europe, they easily enter into the crisis in the Balkan to showcase what they could do with their military strength. Again, the third point, we'll be talking about formation of alliances. Alliances were formed in Europe before the crisis in the Balkan. These alliances started during Bismarckian diplomacy, as we have looked in the previous lecture. If you have not understood the previous lecture, you could go behind and follow it so that you understand how the alliances came. Last time we discussed that the first alliance that was formed in Europe was formed in 1879, which was called the Dual Alliance. The Dual Alliance was formed between Germany and Austria after the Berlin Conference of 1878, where Bismarck did not treat Russia very well. He immediately go and form the Dual Alliance with Austria. Now, this Dual Alliance in the year 1882, it was extended to the Triple Alliance. How did it become a Triple Alliance? Bismarck had to convince France to divert her attention away from Europe so that France should not have the notion of coming back to take Alsace and Lorraine, which were his prime objective. Bismarck objective to keep Alsace and Lorraine. So Bismarck convinced France to go to Africa and take Tunis. Tunis is the capital of Tunisia. Italy was in Tunis struggling to colonize Tunisia or Tunis, and Bismarck called France and encouraged France to go and take Tunis. When France came to Tunis, Italy became a weakling. Italy could not stand the test of time and compete with France. So Italy easily needed support against France. And Bismarck called Italy to come and join the Dual Alliance. And this crisis in Tunis was in 1881. 1 year after, in 1882, Bismarck called Italy, and Italy came and joined the Dual Alliance, and they formed the Triple Alliance. This is how the Triple Alliance was formed. Another alliance that came up in Europe was called the Triple Entente. The Triple Entente was formed in 1907. Triple Entente. The Triple Entente. It was formed in 1907. Which were the members of Triple Entente? There was Britain, there was France, and there was Russia. Now, how did the alliance came about, the Triple Entente? The Triple Entente all started with what we call the Dual Entente. Dual Entente. The Dual Entente was formed in 1902 between France and Russia. France and Russia. We should know that when Bismarck stepped down from his diplomacy, or he stepped down from Germany in 1890, when he stepped down, Kaiser Wilhelm II came to power. They had to destroy the relationship that Bismarck had built with Russia. When he destroyed the relationship, Russia was no longer having good terms with Germany. And so there came a point in time when Russia needed financial support and went to France. Because of that, Russia went to France and France assisted Russia. So in 1894, France and Russia formed the Franco-Russian Alliance in 1894. It became a pact, but later developed from a pact. In 1891, it was a pact, and from 1894, it became an alliance, where the two of them now became good friends. And with the Franco-Russian Alliance, it was changed to an entente, dual entente, and in 1907, Britain, who was in a splendid isolation in Europe, came out of her splendid isolation and joined France, Russia, and Italy in 1907, and it became now the Triple Entente. So the objective of these alliances was that an attack on a member of any alliance means an attack on all. So when you touch a member of a particular alliance, it means you have touched all the three members. So they are going to fight against you. That is why when Germany was attacked by Britain, we now saw Italy and Austria-Hungary supporting Germany, and the war now was fought between Britain, France, Russia against France, Russia, Belgium against even with USA that joined 1917, joined the First War 1917 against the Triple Alliance. While the Triple Alliance, we talk about Germany, Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Turkey, and the other members. So that was how the alliance system contributed to the outbreak of the war. The next stage We'll be talking about the attitude of Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany. That was another reason for the outbreak of the First World War. Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany, we call him L'Enfant Terrible in history, terrible child. This man came to power and did some tremendous things or something. His attitude contributed to the outbreak of the war, of the First World War. When he came to power, he was the one who encouraged Germany to violate Belgian neutrality that was signed in 1839. As if that was not enough, Kaiser William II, he also encouraged naval competition between Britain and Germany. Bismarck had warned him about going into a naval rivalry with Britain, but being a terrible child, he wanted to dominate Europe, knowing full well that European Council came to understand that Britain was the dominant country in Europe in terms of naval fighting. Bismarck informed him, but Kaiser wanted Germany to compete with Britain in terms of naval fighting, and because of that, it encouraged naval rivalry between Britain and Germany. The worst of it was that Kaiser Wilhelm II encouraged in 1905. He went to a Moroccan town called Tangier. He went to Tangier, and in 1911, he went and sent a gunboat to a town called Agadir in Morocco. Morocco was under France. So, visiting Tangier in 1905 and Agadir sending a gunboat, a German gunboat called the Panther in the Moroccan town of Agadir in 1911, it was already creating problems between Germany and France, which France was already in Morocco. So when he came to Morocco, it was a sign that Morocco was under France, and coming there was already creating tension between France and Germany, that they already had problems in Europe at the time. So his presence in Morocco instead helps to fuel the grudges that France and Germany were having in Europe. So his attitude contributed to the outbreak of the First World War. The next point, we talk about colonial rivalry. Colonial rivalry. When we talk about colonial rivalry, we refer to the desire of European nations to be able to acquire territories in Africa and Europe. So, the desire by these European countries to annex territories in Africa created rivalry among them in order to have territories in Africa. Since they were fighting to annex different parts of Africa, it brought grudges, it brought rivalry, it brought infighting among these great nations in Europe. Some instances of European nations that quarreled in Africa in order to annex territory that continued to whetted their appetite to go into a war which started in 1914. We have this case of Anglo-French rivalry. We have the Anglo-French rivalry in Egypt in 1882. Anglo-French rivalry, that's Britain and France fighting in Egypt. We have again Anglo-French rivalry in the Niger Delta. We have again Anglo-French rivalry in Fashoda village in 1898. Fashoda village in Sudan. Britain and France quarrel again over Fashoda village. Again, we could talk about Franco-Italian rivalry in Tunis. Franco-Italian rivalry in Tunis. We have Franco-Belgian rivalry. Franco-Belgian rivalry in the Congo Basin. Again, we have Germany and Britain quarreling over who to annex Cameroon. All these quarreling or infighting among European countries in Africa created the desire for them to go into war, because they knew that their interest was to colonize territories in Africa, and when a country saw where he felt it was fertile, or she felt it was fertile for her to colonize, and another power came in, it will help to create division or quarrels among the two of them, which result to the outbreak of the First World War. Again, we talk about the growth of nationalism in Europe. When we talk about the growth of nationalism in Europe, we refer to the desire of European nations to expand their borders, to be able to annex or colonize more territories and expand their national boundaries. It was because of the growth of nationalism in the Balkan that enabled Serbia to have the desire that she wanted to create a pan-Slavic state. Because of Serbia to create a pan-Slavic state, it led to the outbreak of the First World War because she wanted to gather all the Slavs in the Balkan, such as Montenegro, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, to put them under her rule and form a big Slav state. Due to this growth in nationalism, now Austria, in order to also expand her borders, wanted to annex Bosnia and Herzegovina. And by 1908, when Austria annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina in order to increase her own sphere of influence or to increase her border, which is what we are talking about nationalism in Europe. That is the desire of these European nations to be able to expand their borders or to capture more territories and increase their land of control. Because of Austria's desire to do so, she was bound to annex Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1908, which now enable us, the Slavs who were living in Bosnia and Herzegovina, to develop anti-Austrian societies like the Union of Death that was formed by Gavrilo Princip. Again, we talk about the next cause, we talk about jingoism or the rule of the press. Jingoism. The press in Europe has given exaggerated information about the military strength of the Greek powers. The European nations were given false or information about their military strength, how they were producing weapons, and how they could attack one another, how they were building, conscripting soldiers, how they were building new weapons. Because of this exaggeration from the press or the media, the countries now felt that they wanted to test their ability to be able to see if they could go into a war. And because of this, other nations, since a country could give information through the press on how she was building her military, to prompt another country to continue to build more soldiers, to continue to recruit soldiers, to continue to build equipment, so that in time of a war, she should be able to stand the test of time to compete with each other. And because of this exaggerating information from the press, the European nations have to easily go into a war, which was called the First World War, that started in 1914 and came to an end in November 1918. Thanks so much for following the lectures on the causes for the outbreak of the First World War.